In this lesson, we'll focus on anchor points and their control handles. We'll learn how we can manipulate each of them to fit our needs. Okay, so go ahead and open up the Lesson 5 Begin file for me here. You'll see this particular graphic inside that file. Now, in a previous lesson, we learned a little bit about anchor points. We learned that there are two types. We have corner anchor points, and we have smooth anchor points. Now, this particular graphic actually is made up of both types of anchor points. And to show you that, let's go ahead and click on our direct selection tool, and I'm simply going to click on the dark red area here. Now that's going to actually select the dark red object, but it's also going to show us each and every anchor point and the control handles that grow out of that, controlling the direction of the path. Now let me just go ahead and zoom in on a portion of this, holding down the control and the space bar and dragging a marquee. And this anchor point right here would be considered a smooth anchor point. A good indication of that is we can look at the control handles, and you can see that the control handles flow through the anchor point in the same direction. So we can actually use our direct selection tool to grab one of these control handles. And another way to tell is if you move one control handle, you can see that it's locked to the other control handle. And the path that flows through is a smooth path. There's not a little sharp edge to it at all. So let me undo that with a Control Z here. That's a smooth anchor point. Now, there's lots of corner anchor points here as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag a marquee selection around this one here. And you can see here that this corner anchor point forms a little point. There's a little corner. And each of the control handles that grow out of it are moving in different directions. We can also see here by grabbing one of these with the direct selection tool that moving one of these control handles does not affect the other control handle. Now, let me undo that here. All right, great. So now that we know the difference, or we know how to spot a smooth anchor point versus a corner anchor point, let's talk about how we can convert them and move them back and forth between the two types. So I have this one here selected, which is a corner anchor point. If we wanted to convert this to a smooth anchor point, one way you could do that is to jump up here to the control panel inside of Illustrator. Right up here where it says anchor point, you can see there is a convert option. We have a couple of buttons here. We have a button for corner anchor points, and we have a button for smooth anchor points. So if we click on that smooth anchor point button, you'll notice here that it changes the control handles for this anchor point, and they are now running in the exact same direction. We can actually grab one of these control handles and we can move it around, and you can see it's now locked to the other control handle, ensuring that we end up with a path that smoothly flows through that anchor point. Now, if we wanted to convert this back into a corner anchor point, one might think, well, let's just go ahead and click on this corner anchor point button. And if we do that, you'll notice here that it does convert it to a corner. We basically have this nice pointed edge again, but we don't have any control handles growing out of our anchor point anymore. Now, those control handles are still there. They're still able to be used, but they've just been sucked up into that anchor point. Now, how do we pull those control handles out? Well, we're going to use a tool called the Convert Anchor Point tool, and it's located right up here underneath the Pen tool. If we go ahead and click and hold down on the Pen tool, you'll find the Convert Anchor Point tool here. It looks like a little triangle that's missing one of the sides, and you can see the keyboard shortcut for that is Shift-C. So let's go ahead and grab that here, and let's go ahead and click on this anchor point and just drag. And you can see here that we're pulling out control handles for that selected anchor point. Now notice here that as we pull these out, by default these are going to be smooth. This is going to be a smooth anchor point. So these control handles are locked together. Now, since we have this tool selected, if we really wanted this to be a corner anchor point, we just wanted a little more control over the direction of the path, then we could use the same tool to click on one of these handles and move it. And you can see here that we have snapped that handle free, just like so. Now we can always come in here and let's go ahead and grab our direct selection tool here. I'm going to select this anchor point again, and I'm just quickly going to convert it back to a smooth anchor point. Now we used the Convert Anchor Point tool to pull out those control handles. But what happens if you have a smooth anchor point that already has control handles like this one, and you want to convert it into a corner anchor point? Well, we shouldn't have to come up here and click on this button and then recreate or pull out our control handles all over again. We can actually use our direct selection tool and just simply hold down the Alt key when we go to move one of these handles. So I'll hit Alt and then click and drag, and you can notice by doing that, I snap that control handle free from the anchor point. So it's no longer bound to this control handle. So now I can move them both independently, and we can get this shape back kind of similar to the way we started in this lesson. All right, great. So all in all, this particular graphic has lots of different anchor points in it. And it has both smooth anchor points and it has corner anchor points. So what I'd like you to do is take this graphic here and practice. Come in here and take maybe a corner anchor point like this and convert it into a smooth anchor point. And then come in here holding down your Alt key and maybe break these control handles free from the anchor point and kind of recreate the path as it was before you converted it over to a smooth anchor point. You might even come in here and maybe look for some of these smooth anchor points. Practice converting those into a corner anchor point, again by either using your Convert Anchor Point tool or holding down the Alt key with your Direct Selection tool. Converting them to corner anchor points like so, and then coming in and resetting them. Coming in, selecting that anchor point, converting it back into a smooth anchor point, making sure that I have the correct one selected there. There we go. Convert it back into a smooth anchor point and try and reposition the path into the position it was in when you first opened this file, just like so. So once you've practiced some with these anchor points and gotten used to this workflow of moving back and forth between corner anchor points and smooth anchor points, go ahead and move on to the next lesson, because what we're going to begin looking at is attributes for vector objects. So I'll see you in the next lesson.